Thank you. And which brings us to the regular calendar. And 15.1, to take action to appoint a new superintendent of the schools and approve terms of the agreement of the contract. I would, and just in introducing this item, I will say that we're sad to be losing our current superintendent, but he's not leaving us yet, so we're not going to dwell on that. One thing I would like to compliment him, he's done an excellent job of bringing along a very strong leadership team, which is making that transition, if possible, easier. So we thank you for that, Dr. Morris. And with that, do we have any speakers on this item?
Yes, I have one speaker. Sharia Westra.
I have 5 minutes, right?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. Okay. Sharia Westar, president of the Fremont Unified District Teachers Association. In June 2013, I had the great opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. to participate in a new president's training through the National Education Association. They gave me a journal to record my thoughts throughout the week and take notes as we prepared for our role back home as the new president of the association. In preparation for tonight's agenda item, I decided to look back in that journal for some words about leadership and maybe some things that would help me gather my thoughts for this agenda item and decide should I even bother coming up to the mic or not. But I felt I needed to because it's about two people that I admire a lot. A poem was shared with us back 4 years ago called The Dash. Under the title of the book, which I didn't know even existed then, I had written 4 notes by it in my little journal. Think of your leadership role, have a balance in life, make good choices, do this work in a happy place. For those that don't know this poem, the message is about making a difference with your life from beginning to end. And in the context of my training was about one's leadership roles. As I speak tonight about this agenda item, I can't help but first mention the past 7 years that I've known Dr. Morris, as he has been living in the Dash here in Fremont Unified. The D in Dash stands for determination. You will be an influence on a lot of people, whether you want to or not, when you live in the Dash. And day by day, day in and day out, over 7 years, Dr. Morris has lived in the Dash as a positive influence. The A in Dash stands for awareness. Be aware that everything you do and say has consequences far beyond what you can see with your eyes. The consequences here have been positive. Just look at what we've done around developer fees, fame, implementing the Common Core standards, attracting and retaining staff, measure E, K, and I, building relationships with community partners, and more. The S stands for service. The service Dr. Morris has given to our students, families, staff, and community has been like none I have ever seen before his time here. The H in Dash stands for humility. It's been said that all truly great leaders have 2 things in common. First, they have extreme personal humility. Second, they have an intense professional will to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Remember, humility does not mean that we think less of ourselves. It just means that we think about ourselves less and others, especially our spouse, our children, our coworkers, and our friends more. And here in Fremont Unified, that was the students. Before meeting with Dr. Morris last week to hear this news, I predicted half of what he was going to tell me to be true, that he was retiring. My first guess. The other half, as Dr. Wallace knows, was not what I was expecting, but I'm happy that it is what it was. She would be the new superintendent. After the initial shock and even meeting with Dr. Wallace following that meeting with Dr. Morris, it still took me a little time to process. FUTA has no position on who the next superintendent will be or any official response, so I'm making a response as Sharia Westra, FUSD parent and FUSD staff member. I know that Dr. Wallace will lead our district with determination, awareness, service, and humility, and she will positively influence the lives of others, and the lives she will touch will be changed forever, just as those that Dr. Morris has touched. I came tonight in support of the board's decision to appoint Dr. Wallace as our next superintendent. She had me at the Angry Bird analogy she gave in her interview in 2014. Yeah, she gave an analogy to the Angry Bird concept and game and everything in an interview for Assistant Superintendent. And since then, she has worked collaboratively with our association during times of change. Change that hasn't been always easy, like the PLC work that FUSD is now driving and doing. The end of the poem of the dash goes like this. Will you be proud of the things they say about you and how you spent your dash? Dr. Morris, you should be extremely proud of the work and life that you've lived here in Fremont, and darn Southern California for getting you back. And Dr. Wallace, I know you will make us all proud by leading our district to educate, inspire, and challenge. Reflect on your leadership role, have and create a balance, make good choices, and make this work a happy place. And I look forward to working with you when I go back to the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westra. Bring it back to the board. Would anyone like to speak? Don't have anyone in the queue. Yes, Trustee Sweeney.
Thank you, President Crosby. I know we will have ample time within the next couple months to talk and to praise Dr. Morris, but at this occasion, I can say, I've had the experience of being exposed to a lot of superintendents here and elsewhere, been at meetings, met some people, wish I didn't meet some others. You are far and away heads above any superintendent I have met or heard about. You have done such great work here. I'm not going to belabor the point. I know how much you like to have people talk about you. But it does not go without saying, and it should always be noticed, that I don't know how anybody could give as many hours, how many days, as much of your life as you've given to us, selflessly and with humility, and always putting the children first and keeping everything moving forward. That you took a district that was performing really well and made it a high-performing school district on every front. I just think you've done a wonderful job, and I know that Dr. Wallace is going to have some big shoes to fill, and well, time for that and ramping up. But I could not be more proud of the work that you've done and what you've done for all of us. And thank you very much for everything you've done so far.
Trustee Campbell.
I, like Trustee Sweeney, I know we're going to have ample time to give you all kinds of praises and prizes and crying and sniffling and all of the other stuff to see you go. But I do want to say thank you for all that you've done publicly for our community, for our children, for our parents, and praise you for stepping up and saying your family comes first, because that's exactly what we do here, is the families come first. So thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you. Dr. Shao.
I just want to, first of all, express my deep gratitude to Dr. Morris, because I just regretted that I couldn't have more time working with him. From him, I rubbed off a lot of good things. One thing that I'm proud of is the spirit of a fighter. I remember on a very hot, sunny day, we picketed outside a development site. And we have a lot of people with us that day. And I realized that today is not like the only chance that I would talk about Dr. Morris. I just want to emphasize that right now I'm reading a book that Dr. Morris borrowed to me, and I totally agree with the title. It's not about the change. What's most important is about the transition. And I believe with Dr. Morris still with us in the upcoming several months, and with Dr. Wallace, and we will have a good transition, and our school district is continuing to be a great performing school district, actually one that would be the best school district in the Bay Area. Thank you.
Yes. Student board member?
Thank you, President Crosby. Just for a brief statement, as a student and speaking to many of my fellow peers from across the district, one of the things that I wanted to point out today from the student perspective is in my many years here in FUSD, I have never seen someone who has been as dedicated to what he does, as dedicated to his passion, as dedicated to us students as Dr. Morris. And being able to work with him in the past couple of years and to call him not only a mentor of mine, but a friend is something that I take very personally. And I certainly will have a lot more words to say in the coming months. But as a brief statement from the students, we want to thank you once again for everything that you have done thus far and everything that you have yet to do in the coming months, because we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Burke.
Okay, so I'm getting teary-eyed already, and we still have a couple months. I just wanted to say, Dr. Morris, thank you for helping me ramp up to be able to do the job that I'm currently doing. What I learned first and foremost was 24/7, that you have been on the job 24/7. Sometimes we'd be in a meeting, you'd say, you know, I was in the shower and I was thinking about how we could do this, and it was always about how we could do that. X was helping our students and our families. And that's something that has, I think, rubbed off on all of us that have worked with you. And one of the messages that I've taken away from you is assumed competence, that your leadership style is to assume that your staff are competent, and that will eventually get down to the students so that all of our students graduate from Fremont as competent students. And I think you've created that culture here, and it will show in the leadership that Dr. Wallace will now lead us in for the next 7 to 10 to 15 to 25 years. But thank you for training and working with all of us.
Thank you. I will just say that one of the wonderful things that we've received as a gift from Dr. Morris is that he has set us on a wonderful path, and he's put in place a lot of very competent individuals who are able to lead this district and able to continue even with him missing. He's retiring, but he's not ill, he's not dying. Just make sure people know that. He will go on to do wonderful things in education, other places, but this will be his last job as a superintendent. But I have no doubt he will continue to impact student lives. And because he has set us on a great path, I think our board felt very strongly we wanted to continue on the path we're on, that it would be unfair to bring somebody in from the outside who wouldn't necessarily understand the Fremont way, but that we have individuals here in our midst who are competent and capable of leading us on initially on the path we're on, and no doubt making their own path forward. And I think that we feel very strongly that, in the words of Dr. Morris, the good thing is we have Kim Wallace, who is here and ready to continue the work in conjunction with our leaders in our bargaining units and the team that's at the table with her. So I think that our district is in very good hands. And with that,
I'll make a motion to approve the new superintendent of schools and the terms of the agreement of the contract.
I second.
please prepare to vote.
It is open for your vote. And the motion carries unanimously with 5 ayes and student member Wu voting aye as well.
with the board's indulgence, I did want to allow Dr. Wallace an opportunity to say something if she would like to.
Thank you so much. About 3 years ago this month, I stood at the same podium and accepted the appointment of Assistant Superintendent of Instruction. And having had a 20-plus year career in education already, I felt like when I got to Fremont, I finally was home. I landed in Fremont and said, this is the best place I've ever been. This is my favorite job I've ever had. And I've really felt that way for every day of the 3 years that I've been here. And I've said to myself in the car, and maybe out loud to other people, even when it's a bad day in Fremont, it's still a great day. And that just really speaks to the quality of our staff and our students and the direction that our superintendent has led us. Like you, this is a bittersweet moment because Dr. Morris has been the best mentor, the best superintendent, honestly, that I think anybody has been able to witness and have the pleasure to work for. When I was a student teacher in Los Angeles, I was 21 when I started student teaching. And they really shouldn't let 21-year-olds student teach, I've decided. And I took over for a teacher who was a teacher of the year for LA Unified. So this guy his name was Barry Smolin, and he was one of the best English teachers ever. And when I took over for him, the class wasn't that thrilled. And they said a few mean things to me, and I didn't know what I was doing, so that was, probably rightfully so. But by the end of the semester, I actually had those 9th grade students who I taught Dante's Inferno to really with me by the end. And that's what I'm hoping as the transition from Dr. Morris, who has his own skill set, his own style, and his own way of being, that you will accept that I wholeheartedly believe in his vision and will continue that, but I'm also a different person, and that transition that we're talking about is something that we can just work through together, because I'm here 100% wholly for you and with you, and just really happy about it. Just one last thing is whenever I make a move in my career, and maybe it happens for you as well, you think about, when I was a child, what did I want to be when I grow up? And so if you just think for 2 seconds, what was that you wanted to be when you were 8 years old? And whenever somebody asked me that question, I said, I want to be a farmer or the governor. So I think superintendent's actually kind of a nice mix between farmer, growing, and the governor, governing. So with that, I just say that I'm so thrilled and happy to be your new superintendent, and I hope it's for many, many years to go as well. So thank you all.